I can't see it yet.
Give it 2 seconds. It's coming.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. I literally just hit the send, and I think we're live. All right. And then I'm going to be, hi, Tammy. I am going to hit record. I'm going to be a good little person and record because I never remember. And I know my tech person gets tired of recording these off of Facebook. So, hey there in Facebook land. Hey there, Mama Tammy. And hello to our wonderful guest, Novella Lineberg. Welcome to Black Acupuncture Meet and Greet. We are starting on time today. Woohoo! I know that you guys are used to me starting a little late. Occasionally we have some technical difficulties. Y'all be patient with me and Mercury in retrograde and the fact that I am not tech savvy. So our guest today is Novella Lineberg, and she's an acupuncturist out in Vallejo and a very dear friend of mine. I love me some Novella. This is the godmother of my child.
Hello.
To get our schedules to mesh and get her here online. And today we're going to be talking about autumn and lung health and some things that you guys can do for yourself at home to help boost up your lung capacity and what that means from a TCM perspective. So for those of you who have never turned in, holy crap, we're up to 5 people already. Hey, Facebook land. So for, for those of you who've never tuned into the show before, the reason why we're doing this is because I did a talk once at SIEM, S-I-E-A-M, which is the Seattle Institute of East Asian Medicine. And there was a student there, she was an African-American woman who had never seen another Black acupuncturist before. And so I wanted to make sure that people had an opportunity to see Black acupuncturists from all over the country. And I'm working on getting some folks from around the world. Bear with me while we get some things together. So I'm going to introduce our guest, Novella, and I'm going to let her take it away. Hey, Novella Mama, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. And thank you for having me on and providing this opportunity to be
Thank you for coming and joining us. I'm glad I finally managed to get you on the show. It only took a couple of months, but you're here. Yay. Yeah. All right. So, all right, I'm going to stop my phone from buzzing. Y'all, excuse me. I cut it off, but not off enough. So, today, I just want to introduce you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about you. How long have you been an acupuncturist?
Well, I have been an acupuncturist, licensed acupuncturist for 11 years. But I have been doing acupuncture for close to 19 years. Wow. You know, when I started putting needles in was in 2001. So, nice. And I went to school at Yosan University in Southern California, where I'm from, Los Angeles.
Yay! Yosan, when did you graduate? When did you finish?
I graduated in 2009. I took some time off in between and went really slow through the program, but got through it.
You should. The acupuncture program is rigorous. Like, people don't realize that you need a master's degree in order to practice acupuncture pretty much anywhere in the United States. Yeah. So it's usually a really rigorous 3 to 4 year program, whether or not, it depends on whether or not like you did herbs. And so since you're practicing in California, obviously, well, maybe not to our viewers, but you had to do traditional Chinese herbal therapy as well, or traditional Chinese medicine. So we are certificate holders. This wasn't a 9-month program. There was some study, and many of us need a break afterwards. We're what we call qi deficient, right? We're just kind of exhausted afterwards. You graduated in 2009. And what did you do before you decided you wanted to stab people?
Well, I did a lot of things. I went to school, actually art school, and studied film I did a 4-year program and bachelor's in film and video production. And I enjoyed the whole creative process of making films. I started making films when I was like 15 and 16 years old and won the Los Angeles Film Teachers Association Award. But as I got into the real world with that, it just wasn't, it wasn't in alignment with who I was. And I happened to be the healer in the bunch. You know, on a film set, I would be, oh, you're coming down with something. My mom was into herbs, and both my parents made liniments and grew food and herbs. And my mom had significant knowledge of Western herbs. as I was growing up, and would always make teas such as sage tea and all kinds of concoctions I can't get into. So
It sounds like my house. We have mommy tea here. Whenever my kid or I starts to feel a little run down, we make mommy tea. He's like, can you make some mommy tea? You know,
yes.
concoction of random herbal stuff. What you got going on today,
And
kid?
I loved touching people. I was always like, my mom was really into touching and massaging, and she had a very strong healing touch. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were the healer on set, studying film school, and then what was your first acupuncture experience like?
I was started to get a cold. I was actually in living in the Bay Area at the time, and I was actually studying acrobatic yoga massage in at the Moran School of Acrosage. It was like a yogini acrobatic massage therapist. I was learning shiatsu. I was lifting people upside down and putting them in an inverted posture, touring the Whole Life Expos and working.
I feel cheated. I am certain you have never done this to me. So the next time we get together, I need to experience this.
I know. Well, I stopped doing that. That was a little much on my body, lifting people up in the air. I did that in my 20s and 30s. And I worked for a colon hydrotherapist, and I started to come down with a cold. Now, actually, before that, I was exploring Chinese herbs in my 20s and making teas, and actually getting into, like, I was so curious about these herbs. I grew up close to Chinatown in Los Angeles, and I had a friend that we would go and explore. We'd make different teas. We got into actually deer antler and everything. And we're like too young to be drinking deer antler, really, young tonics, and just like really feeling it and trying to feel the herbs, and it was fun. And then, it was really profound getting acupuncture and just having a turnaround with my health from that. And so at that point, I just kept going, and I got inspired. There were some people around who were into Chinese medicine, and I just got really inspired. Then I decided to explore studying Chinese medicine in 1997. I was married to somebody at the time who was actually discouraging me from going through that program. And so once I got divorced, that was the first thing I embarked upon in 2000. And in 2001, I finally was enrolled and went through the program and didn't look back.
Well, yay for new beginnings and getting rid of people who are
letting it go. That's what this is all about. So on that note,
on the note of letting go,
that's what this season's all about. The autumn, the fall, like the trees, in order to be strong, and consolidate the energy of what we've been doing.
Right, you got to be able to come in sometimes and
we have to drop what is not needed in order to store our energy up and to be created in the spring, so
right. So that's one of the things that I love about this medicine that a lot of people don't understand if they're not familiar with it. There is a lot of ebb and flow and change, and you're supposed to have cycles of things. And so this is the fall season, season of the lung and the season of the letting go, right? Where everything comes in and everything goes down into your roots, which is where people start to come into their house, if you think about it, right? People are coming to the house, they're not as active outdoors, they kind of slow down a little bit, and people are like, I'm just so tired. I'm like, honey, it's the fall. You're not supposed
to time. Yeah, you should not beat yourself up for feeling tired and not being able to accomplish things, because it is that time that we are getting towards the winter, to store our energy, to storehouse our energy, and take stock of what where we are in life, you know, and not to push, you know,
Not to
get a
push.
little bit more sleep to nourish our bodies a little deeper.
Yeah.
And
So can you
so,
tell us a little bit about the 5 cycles and the pairs and the element of,
yeah, well,
yeah, give us some
I
basics.
was gonna get to
Not
that. Yeah.
everybody in Facebook land knows what we're talking about over here.
So yeah, so I'm going to talk about the fall as it relates to where we're at here in the world hemisphere. Like this is mainly like the fall is a time where it's starting to where the summer is a time of yang, where our energy is more on the exterior part of our bodies, and at you know at the equinox at the summer solstice, and then you have the winter solstice. And right now we're in a transitional time coming from that yang point outside of our bodies where we're just doing, and then we're starting to quiet and hibernate. So this is a transitional time for that. Um, Also, like there's winds that come in and can attack us if we're not protecting ourselves properly. So
So everyone knows this as the cold and flu season, but we call it the wind season in traditional Chinese medicine. So what we think of as pathogens when you're thinking of Western medicine, we're calling it wind, and it's a wind invasion. And usually this time of year, it's a wind cold invasion, but we can also have a wind heat invasion. And these are the different kinds of sicknesses that people begin to see at this time of year.
oh yeah, bringing it back to the pairs. Yeah, this is the best way to transition our bodies to adapt to the cooler months is to and the dryness is to nourish with Asian pear. I have some cooked here that you can steam. You can cut them up and steam them in water, and you can also use a steam basket, or you could, however you can. You can add a little piece of ginger. I have some ginger in here. It's very delicious. You want to avoid eating. We can get away with eating more raw foods in the summer, but now's the time to eat less raw foods, if not, you know, completely eliminate it like we would in the winter, but start to pull back on all the cooling foods like cold salads and smoothies and lots of fruit. But it is a time for storing. Um, and I'm here's my lungs. I have, you know, for people who talk a lot, this pear drink is very, very good and nourishing for your lungs.
It's a wonderful, Asian pear is one of my favorite ones. They're really easy to find in the farmers markets and the Asian markets right now. It's not your normal looking pear. It's kind of a round brown pear, and it's that you can easily slice up and add to your teas or your oatmeals or your congis or anything that you're going to cook slowly for a little bit of time. Another great thing to add to it is cinnamon. Like if you don't happen to have any ginger around,
That's
cinnamon,
right.
they're
All those
really
warming
awesome
herbs
one.
are very good. Yeah. So yeah, as we go towards the season of winter, which is the season of consolidation, we're gathering up, and we're you know, just um, getting ourselves ready, preparing ourselves.
Preparing
uh,
ourselves for the stillness of winter, but you can't,
yes,
you don't
yes.
start the gathering process.
So according to there's a great book called From Heaven and Earth. There's a few emotional aspects to this time, which is analysis, definition, discrimination, and synthesis. And analysis is kind of like looking in and taking stock and and looking at our lives and taking stock of what we've done. It's not a time for creating new ideas, but to kind of see what we've done so far, and what's worked and what hasn't worked. And it's just a good time for processing our emotions at this time. And then also the lungs are an organ that is about emptying and filling. So, and its paired organ is the large intestine. And
Yes.
so a lot of the dryness of this season can affect our bowels and cause constipation or dry lungs, such as chronic cough and other pathologies. So what you'll do is, you know, use herbs to get these functions going.
Nice and regular, which is what makes the Asian pear wonderful, because from a TCM standpoint, Asian pears are a very yin organ because they're juicy, right? And it's that juiciness that makes its way into the lungs, and it's that juiciness that makes its way into the large intestine, and it's the fiber, right, that's found
Right.
in the Asian
And
pear.
the skins of the pear are very good for the lungs themselves.
Right, and all that
and our skin.
deep into the body. Yeah, the skin, right? And if you think about it, if your large intestine is impacted and you're constipated and you're not moving, then it begins to show up on your skin, and the lung is in charge of the skin.
Descending. Bowels descend, the lungs descend.
Moving along, right?
Yes, so it is that time for contracting and descending. So yeah, and you know, one thing about Asian pears is that it's not going to create a lot of dampness like other fruits. It's not doesn't have that syrupy.
It's syrupy
And
sweet.
you can, yeah, and you can add
Bananas and mangoes.
yeah. So which is good for, like, you know, again, the nose opens out to the lungs, and so breathing is very important to help with our lungs at this time. And
Time for meditation and contemplation, y'all.
yes,
Yes.
quieting down. I could show you a couple exercises to strengthen our lungs and breathing. So also the lung channel runs up from the thumb here along the arm. Can you see here?
Yep, starts on the corner of the thumb.
Uh-huh.
Right along the outer edge here.
Yes.
Up, and this is actually like this crook of this elbow, right? This is a good point for that wet cough if you have one.
Let me cough. Here we go. So right here on the lateral side of this tendon, you have this side and this side. This is the side, the lateral side of this tendon, lung 5. And then also, if you're coughing a lot, you can chop. This point right here is like the end of the styloid process, and you can chop that.
So this point is lung 7. We got lung 5, lung 7 right here on the edge of your wrist. Yeah. This is also good for what's happening right now in the country when we're talking about COVID and people are having deep coughs, these wet coughs, or at the end of COVID, like that dry hack. So this point on the edge of your wrist where you can chop and do a little self-massage on the edge of the wrist is good for that dry hack. And then point on the crook of the elbow, on the outside of the crook of the elbow, I was doing heart point earlier, y'all, excuse me, I'm tired. Outside on the crook of the elbow, right, where you would draw blood at, right? This is good for that deep, wet hacking cough. And then right at the lung 9, yeah, lung 9.
The deficiency of the lung. Let's say if you're weak, short of breath.
You know, all the things that happen with the lung right here, you can come right over here to lung 9. That's an excellent point. So if you guys need some points that you want to make a part of your daily self-care, you know, we do a lot of self-massage and a lot of self-care, and we rub a lot of things, but we don't necessarily think about some of the gua sha things that would happen in, say, like an Asian family or an Asian community. So if you guys can remember to spend a little time rubbing underneath your thumbs, which are going to get sore, right? Computer work and holding your phones, you can rub right here. You can chop across your wrist at lung 7, and then you can rub the crook of your elbows. And then Novella had another one for us that she wanted to show us that we could do self-care at home.
So here we have lung, the end of the lung channel here, which is, or it's actually the beginning of the lung channel. It's lung 1 and lung 2, which is right. So here's the junction of the clavicle here, and we're like a little bit below there. So this here, we're gonna put a little pressure with our thumbs here, and you can just take a deep breath. However is easiest for you. She's going like this. You can do this.
Yeah, I'm fat and top heavy. I can't cross my arms and reach nothing. Like my boobs get in the way. I can't make it.
a lot of lung exercises that I could go into, but
Right.
you know, and then there's also bringing up and exhaling down and imagining the toxins leaving our lungs and inhaling the white color, exhaling the turbid colors, the browns, the yucky mucus, the sticky.
So I want to like just bring up just a couple of things. A lot of things that folks don't realize, and there are things that I talk about a lot. There is a lot of tension that, okay, my Facebook just cut off. I hope I'm coming back, Facebook land. There's a lot of tension that happens in the front of your body from the clavicle, right? These little cool bone things you have going on right here.
Yes.
Into your pec muscles, right? There's a lot of tension that happens there, especially if you find yourself texting a lot, being hunched over from driving, or sitting at the computer, right? Like these things.
Or even emotionally, like feeling down, like depression will like have you curling in.
You're curling in, right? And that's the emotion that
as opposed to opening.
Yep.
The lungs,
the emotion that's associated with
open.
the lungs is grief, and being able to do these stretches, stretching your arms out, stretching your up or stretching your arms out, and then giving a little love into this chest area can relieve a lot of tension. It can relieve a lot of neck pain, right? And it's really great for the lungs. And if you don't want to rub, one of the other things that you can do is tap, right? You can tap this area or beat on this area, and it helps with congestion, right? It's a great way of massaging yourself so that, again, you get that relaxation that is happening in there. And you can also tap and beat all the way along the lung channel, which again starts on the corner of the thumb and comes all the way out and into the chest. So you can do a lot for yourself with self-massage and self-tuina and self-stimulation on these points to just get yourself some relaxation and help to let go of some of the grief. And our country is definitely locked in grief right now. Bye, Tammy. And our country is definitely locked in some grief right now. We have Jennifer who's saying she is currently sipping on some turmeric ginger tea and eating some bone broth right now while she's watching. Thank you, Jennifer, and thanks for joining us today, beautiful. How you doing? So these are just a little couple of self-care things that you guys can do at home for yourself, especially in the time of COVID with the cold and flu season coming in. Make rubbing your lung points a part of your regular day. What else you got for us, Mama Novella?
Well, sleep, you know, because we're coming into hibernation, we should go to bed a little earlier.
Yes, go to bed.
Getting that proper sleep. I know it may sound hard, but you know, there's things that you could do to help get some sleep. Make a double brew of chamomile. Even that's an easy one for a lot of people who don't even know about Chinese medicine. So, you know, there's things.
There's things, right? And that adequate rest is important in terms of building up the immune system.
Yes.
The Chinese medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, your immune system is ran by the lungs, right?
Yes. And that's why it's important to wear more layers of clothing. And a lot of people are not quite up to speed in terms of what they're wearing. They're still dressing in summer clothes when the weather starts to change. I can see wind right now outside my window coming in, and a lot of times people still have a little when the pores are open, we're more open to pathogenic attack with these winds, which is going, you know, and which is going to, if our immune system is down, we can get a cold, you know, and so it's really important to layer up, even if you're feeling like the wind feels good. It could be counterproductive for you.
Or at the very least, like, you know, put a scarf on and cover.
A light silk scarf, yeah.
Just a little scarf. Just to help cover up your neck and to give your Wei Qi or your immune system a little bit of a boost. That's the
beauty of this medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine is we work on harmonizing ourselves with the environment. And so they're not going to mention this. Your Western doctor's not going to mention this stuff, you know, to protect yourself, to prevent any sort of attacks, you know. So
don't be afraid of a scarf. And that includes for the guys. I know that scarves are usually more silk scarves and those kinds of things, a little bit more of a ladies' things, but for guys too, please cover and protect your neck. There are some really awesome, amazing cowls, little short scarves that you guys can wear to help protect your neck and protect your lungs, and definitely keep the top part of your body covered, because that is where your lungs are and where they are the weakest and of greatest exposure.
So sleep, lighten the diet up with from not eating too much cold foods, wear layers, and then consolidate your energy by just, storing, organizing. It's a time of the metal time. The lung time is for a time for organizing. We can talk about the metal type of person, which is highly organized.
I am not metal. Y'all can see my living room. It is a mess. It is insane in here. I can't.
The opposite is that there are two kinds of metal disharmonies. One would be like hyper organization, which is OCD, which is a disharmony. And then there's also hoarding. So that is, of course, the storehouse of things. When you leave the house, are you carrying too much? Are you holding too much that's not being used? That's similar to our bowels not releasing also. So it's a type of constipation psychologically, so
Absolutely.
some of us know this one personally. So, but yeah, it's a good time. Like, you can kind of liken it to spring cleaning, but it's a little different. You want to more like, instead of like, especially now with the pandemic, people are, a lot of us have like bought extra food and extra, but how are you organizing it? Is it in a place where you can find things easily? Or are you going to spend some time organizing it so you can access it and actually use it in the winter time? So this is something to look at and something to do in terms of like getting rid of things that are not needed, that such as toxins and whatever it may be.
Whatever it may be.
So it's a let it go time.
It's a let it go.
Spring is more for letting go so things can grow, new ideas. This is more not necessarily time for new ideas. It's more for consolidating the ideas that we've cultivated all summer and spring.
Healthy pruning.
Yeah.
All the gardeners out there.
Everything's going in. So, right. Just watch the animals and watch the trees,
Squirrels are a good one to think of. Like, they're storing things away, they're cleaning out their nest, and they're ready to be in for the winter. Here in our house, we're starting to go through all the clothing and all the old bedding and all the old linens. We're getting rid of things that have been well loved for a few years, and making sure that we have nice, good, usable things in the house. We're got housekeepers coming.
Yay! I love it.
Help to deal with the dust. We don't think about that. That's a part of that pruning process. If you haven't changed your air filters, if you haven't changed your bed, and I say bed covers, not everyone necessarily has a bed cover, but if you haven't washed your bed cover in a while, if you don't have a bed cover, you should probably get one, because dust and mites and dander and the buildup of just stuff around the house can really easily irritate the lungs. And then you're in a situation, you're like, we're definitely a household of allergies over here too. Don't feel bad, right? So looking at changing your mattress pad covers, getting a mattress pad covers, doing some dusting, cleaning out your air vents, all of these kinds of things help to protect your lungs. We had those god-awful fires here in California. So if you're out here in the West and you don't have an air purifier, definitely open up your windows during the day and let some of that stagnant air out of your house. Again, all of these things help out your lungs. And while you're doing it, go outside and again, do those stretching exercises, right? Spread the arms wide, spread the arms up, spread the arms behind you even, and then open up
this way. Even laying on a ball, if you don't have a lot of energy, lay on a ball and open up. Like, you put that ball behind your rib cage.
Yes.
Also, you ping funks on.
You ping funks on.
So let's talk about this formula. It is our layering. It is our little coat. It is our scarf, but for our body. So our energy doesn't leak out or open up our body to pathogenic attack. when our pores are open. So
it's a really
tightens it
simple
up.
formula. I love that formula.
Tell me what's in it again. Do you have it? It's got some
It's
astragalus.
it's Astragalus, Huang Qi, it's Feng Feng, which is honeysuckle, and it's Baiju, I think.
No, feng fun is the root for wind.
No, it's Feng Feng. Feng Feng is in it.
Yeah.
It's Feng Feng and Baiju. I'm not sure what Baiju is in English. We have a couple of like Acu herbal nerds on here every now and then.
Pull it out, but not now. But yeah. I think it's similar to the Japanese mountain potato. It's a type of starchy root.
It's a type of starchy root.
Tonifying our spleen.
Tonifying the spleen and
improve our
lungs, helps out with the spleen. And the spleen in traditional Chinese medicine is kind of akin to the digestion in medicine. And as we know from our studies that a healthy digestion is important for a healthy immune system, right? Because your digestion sucks up the largest portion of your immune system. And when it goes down, it'll take everything else with it. So Yuping Feng Sun or Jade Windscreen Powder is an excellent formula that you guys can start taking now. It's safe for most people. Definitely check in with your acupuncturist and your herbalist to make sure that this is a good one for you. And Astragalus or Huang Qi, depending on where you're coming from, has been proven to help fight off viruses like those in the family of COVID. We cannot say the word cure. We're saying that it helps to fight off things that are in the COVID family like SARS and the COVID that we're experiencing now. And it's really great for helping out with making sure that you have enough energy to kind of make it through the day. Astragalus is one of my favorite herbs and I take it in everything. I am taking like kind of the Yuping Feng Sun on steroids. Because I talk a lot and I see a lot of people. And my Yuping Feng Sun has cordyceps in it, which is kind of expensive and pricey to get around. It's this caterpillar fungus combination thing. But it's great for your lungs and helping out what we call your lung chi or your lung energy and keeping your health and your wealth. And another really good one that is in the stores, like I didn't get any today because it just showed up today and it was cheap. And I'm like, I'll wait, is Budahan. If you guys see me on Instagram, you know that I have a thing for Budahan. And Budahan is a marvelous citron that you guys can take that is good for lung health. It's pretty safe for everybody because it's a food. You can put a little on the cheese grater and add it to your marinades, your mixes, your sauces, your rices, your eggs, whatever you got going on. And it helps out with lung qi, lung dryness, and it's also good for stress. And in Chinese, the pinyin for it is fo shou. And it's cool. It's great for Halloween too, because it looks freaky. It's like this freaky. Is
that in season now or?
Yes, it just started. So
okay. It's quite drying though. We have to watch the amount, right?
It is. It's good for dryness, actually. Budahan is good for dryness. It isn't astringent, but it's really mild.
Oh, Yuping Feng Sun you're talking about, not Buddha's hand, right?
Yeah, Budahan. Budahan is it's mildly astringent, but it's good for that dry cough, that dry hacking cough that won't go away. So if you got a wet cough, Budahan is not your friend. But if you're feeling run down, if you feel like you can't catch your breath, if you got a hack that you haven't been able to kick, right? Budahan is a marvelous one. And you can find candied pieces of it. You can add it to tea. You can add a little bit to foods. And being that it's food therapy, it's typically safe for most people to be able to take. Budahan is one of my favorites. And being that it's Halloween, because it looks crazy, right? It's a cool one to kind of have laying around the house and it'll make your house good. So I am a fan, huge fan of Budahan, and I will have some next week. It was green today and I refused to buy it.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I'll have to go shopping with you.
Yeah.
Take inventory, everybody. Get ready for the winter. You'll have a better winter the better you take care of yourself in the fall.
Yeah, the less.
Leave it at that.
Right. Do those hot steams in the bathroom, right?
Do dry brushing before you get in even.
Yeah.
Go towards the heart, start on the yang side of the body and work your way in. Here's the yin side of the body. Come this way towards the heart.
Bringing it all in, Hey, out there in Facebook land, if you guys have any questions, now's a good time to start typing them in. Man, I cannot talk today. If you guys have questions, about different formulas or different tips and tricks that you guys can do for yourself while we're, I have to look down, like I should put my phone up here so I don't.
I can't see from the computer here, everybody, but maybe I can from my phone as well.
All right. So if there's any questions that you would like to ask Novella or myself, go ahead and start typing them in. If you have any questions about things that you can do for large intestine health,
You'll have to tell me.
definitely jump on, start typing them in. You know, sometimes Facebook shows them to me and sometimes we're a little bit of a lag. Thank you, Wi-Fi, right? Which doesn't seem to want to work all that well.
Let me see if I'm on
here.
here.
Other food considerations, you know, we talked about staying away from the salads, but this is the time, you know, when pumpkin spice comes out for a reason, right? It comes out this time of year every year, and it's really warming, and it's something that is a bit of a mold spice kind of attitude of things. And so this is a great time to start eating things like oatmeal with cinnamon and nutmeg in them, and the is because it helps to protect the digestion. Digestion is protected. It doesn't make mucus, right? We all know about our friend mucus. We call it dampness in traditional Chinese medicine. You don't want dampness in your lungs. The lungs want to be moist, but not wet.
Yes.
Right. And so your soups, your stews, your bone broth, like Mama Jennifer Jackson over there is drinking right now, all of these warm, nourishing things give your digestion like a leg up. Mama Jennifer Jackson over there.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was like, what in the world? I'm echoing.
I just wanted to see the from my phone if I can see anybody here.
So those warm, nourishing, slow cooked things are a benefit to your digestion overall. And anytime that your digestion is running smoothly, that means that the lungs are going to run smoothly, because your digestion does what we call separating the clear from the turbid in traditional Chinese medicine. That means it takes your food and it separates the good stuff, the nutritious part, right? And it sends that part out along the body. And then the large intestine's job is to do this dumping away, this clearing that we've been talking about. The turbid part goes away, but that clear portion, you want to make sure that your body is going to get as much of that clear portion, as much as that nutrition as possible, so that the lungs can stay strong in the midst of cold and flu season, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, to help out with like that astringent quality of making sure that the lungs aren't too wet, is go ahead and boost up that vitamin C, y'all.
I like Wu Weizhi with Schizandra berry, for anybody who doesn't know. Schizandra berry with pears as well. That's a very good one.
Lisa says, what about Ella campaign, the leaf versus the root? So I'm going to tell you, Lisa, that I only know my herbs in Chinese.
I know Ella campaign. That's good stuff. Yeah. Why not?
So the leaf versus the root. What's your opinion?
Oh, you got me on well, I would think that the leaf is more for the upper portions of the body. The root is a little bit more lower, deeper type of function. Typically, that's how I know it according to Chinese medicine. You know, the roots and the stems are more internal. The stems are more for the limbs. You know what I mean? All the flowers are more for the head. So leaves, I would say, are more upper body type of function comparatively.
Okay. Another good one, which is not necessarily Chinese medicine, is mullein.
Oh, I love mullein. And it grows locally.
And which one?
It grows locally in California.
It does. That is like the coolest thing about living out here. Like we have elderberry that grows locally out here. We have wild sages. We have like everything that just grows in California. We can just walk around.
And it's almost elderberry season.
It is elderberry season.
It is, actually. I think they're ripening now.
They are. However, I would say that if you guys had to pick between elderberry and astragalus right now, the research indicates that astragalus is a little bit better for what's happening in the world with COVID than with elderberry. So go ahead and switch over to the astragalus this year as opposed to the elderberry this year. And normally I'm a huge fan of making an elderberry cordial, but this time I'm going to recommend the Yuping Fengsan.
If you do have issues with migraines or those types of like rising function stuff, you know, you could take more elderberries, you know.
Absolutely.
The astragalus can be have a lot of rising quality. And
it can. I like to put mine in my bone broth, since we're talking about bone broth. A couple of strips of astragalus in your bone broth is something with the heaviness of the bones, the mineral content of the bones. You can combine the astragalus with a little bit of ginger and a little bit of datsao or Chinese jujube in your bone broth. And then you're getting a little bit of medicine every time you put your bone broth in something. Every time you put it in your beans, every time you put it in your grains, you're giving your body a little bit of a boost, and you're helping out. Yes, thank you. Mullein. Yes, mullein is a great one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to check. trying to check. Y'all know I'm not digitally inclined. I'm so proud of how far I've gotten thus far. So bone broths are very nourishing, and they're very anchoring, and they also help to nourish the kidneys, which is the next season that comes up in the realm.
Sure.
Yes, the wildfires have affected the California herb harvesting out here because a lot of things simply didn't make it, right?
Right.
Places that are fine, there are places that didn't burn down, but a lot of the things that were growing are no longer available in places that were devastated by fires.
They're calcified.
Yeah, it's been calcified, you know, and calcified herbs have their place.
Toxic.
They're great for stopping bleeding. We burn things to a crisp to stop bleeding in traditional Chinese medicine. But if you want to go look for elderberries or mullein, or, you know, we have new bangsa that grows out here. I'm like, what? That's new. Yeah, I did. We have a new bangsa tree that's over on my walking path. I had no idea that's what it was because I'd never seen the live tree. I'd only ever seen the dried herb. So a lot of things were definitely affected, but in the places that weren't actually burnt to a crisp, there are a lot of wild herbs that you can still go get, including wild olives. Like, I love living in California because of the amount of things that you can just wild harvest out here. Like, I don't know how anybody starves in California. I wish there should be like more classes that tell you how to walk around and pick up food, because there's food everywhere out here. It grows all over the place.
Yeah, we don't have those harsh winters to like destroy everything too, or like, you know, where things are go really in. So
That deep, right? That deep
yeah.
of it in. Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
A couple of more things for Facebook land. We have a few more minutes before we log off. We have another 15 minutes. Thank you, Lisa, for all your marvelous questions. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not missing any, because sometimes they come out of order. Yay, Wi-Fi. Other things that you guys can make sure that you're doing is making sure that you're getting enough fiber, because we've talked quite a bit about the lung and how to open up the lung and how to expand the lung, but the large intestine is the paired organ of the lung, and that large intestine health is important. And so making sure that you're not suffering from constipation and making sure that you're getting plenty of fiber. This is the time of year when all the greens come out, like all the greens, all the beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, marvelous, amazing greens are in the market right now. So you'll find your deep leafy greens, your chard, your collards, your kales. You'll find the amaranth greens, and all of these greens are just kind of in the market. And that fiber content and that high vitamin C content, again, are going to help to nourish the body and help to prepare you for the cold and flu season and the invasions of the winds in traditional Chinese medicine. So make sure that you're getting adequate fiber and adequate water, y'all. Like, I know it's not hot anymore, but drink your water.
Flush the toxins out. It'll combat some of that dryness.
It is important, right? And so when you're drinking that water, you can, you know, drop a couple of pears in it, or even like a tad bit of honey or bee pollen in your water, to make sure that you're sucking up all those good nutrients. And the bee pollen will help you with being prepared for the different types of allergens that are available. But make sure that you're hydrating adequately so that you get a good poop.
You'll feel more free indeed.
Good poops are important. We love to talk about poop in traditional Chinese medicine. People like, you want to know about my poop? Yes, I want to know about your poop. Do you poop every day? What's your poop look like? What color is it? Does it smell? Well, it's poop. I remember the first time someone asked me that. I was like, it's poop?
All poop smells.
All poop smells, but it's different, right? So making sure that you're able to have a good bowel movement on a daily basis actually is important for your overall immune system health. So getting that good fiber in with the things that are coming into season, like pomegranates, like persimmons, like all the greens. Make sure that you guys are getting adequate nutrition in, because that adequate nutrition is going to translate to your lungs, i.e. your immune system. And that's super, super important, more so than ever this year with the COVID pandemic, that they're talking about that it's going to become endemic this year, right? They're of the opinion that this may never go away, that we might have to deal with this for forever, kind of like the flu. And hopefully we'll build up some resistance and tolerance for it. Thank you, Mama Patricia. We are doing our best to serve a little wisdom to all the communities, to help all the people out. And then since we've talked about
I want to talk about lung 10 because a lot of people get sore throat. So this right here,
yes,
halfway between this bone and this bone here, we have a little dent right here. This is called lung 10. This is very good for, you can massage this one if you have a sore throat. And then this one typically is bled on the corner of the nail. My nails are kind of, there we go. Actually, it's this
right on
side.
the outside corner of the nail is a great sore throat point.
Last point on the lung channel coming down this way. Yep.
Right, and you guys can find maps for all of these points online if you're looking at the lung channel. And then we talk a lot about large intestine 4 for a variety of things, but large intestine 4 is a great point for all things, right? It's great for headaches, right? It helps with digestion. It helps to move chi and blood. Like, this is one of those everything kind of points, and it's midway off of the bone right here in the medius part of the hand. This is another one of those really awesome and amazing points that you can rub for everything.
That's right. And
And
also, for also constipation, this one's good. So you have this right here.
this hinge, if you take a couple of fingers down, in between the bones, you have a point here that is Sanjiao 6.
Sanjiao 6, yes.
Rubbing Sanjiao 6 does a lot of things for helping to make sure that your bowels are moving. And so what we're really pointing out to you is that there's a lot of important points that are happening on your hands and on your arms. And so, you know, we aren't able to go out and get a lot of massages right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't do these things for yourself, right? So take a little time and love on your hands, love on your wrists, right? Love on every part of this lower part of your extremity, because there are so many wonderful points right here. And what you'll find is that most people have tension, especially along the large intestine channel. So the lung channel runs more on the inner pale side of the arm, but the large intestine channel runs from the finger down this part of your arm. And if you rub, especially right on the outer side up from the elbow, most people will find that like, oh my God, why is it so tight there? Right? And so there are a lot of really cool points there. One of them being large intestine 10, and large intestine 10 is right about there. So if you take 2 fingers up from your elbow, you'll find a large intestine 10. And if you come up from the elbow, not quite into the crook, you'll find large intestine 11. And if you spend a little time rubbing on these points, one of these points is really amazing for, again, helping out with that digestion and the letting go and building up the energy. And then large intestine 11 is amazeballs for fevers, right? Things that are throats, running a temperature. These are the kind of points that we will use. And so even if you're not running a fever, we do want the chi to flow along the meridians. We don't want tension in the fascia. We don't want tension along the musculature. So again, spend some time on your arms. We think about our neck and our back a lot, but we don't think about our arms too much. So spend that time when you get out of the shower or in the shower and give yourself a little bit of an arm massage all the way over, starting on the yang side, that's the brown side, or the dark side, and then move your way into the light side or the yin side of the body, and just give it a little bit of love.
Yes.
Point when you get a migraine. Yes, this is a great point for when you get a migraine. I don't have my feet. Oh, I mean, I have my feet, but I have a foot model for another really good headache point. And then, you know, spend a little time on the back of your neck. Oh, excuse me. Coffee.
Oh, yeah. This point here for clearing the wind.
Yeah, I can't show that point. You know, that is a great point. A lot of us have tension right there. So that is a great point for clearing out heat and wind and taking care of headaches and taking care of infectious diseases. That whole area, that whole line, right there under the your occipital lobe. There's a lot of things that happen right there in traditional Chinese medicine. So giving that part of your body a little bit of love can help to ward off and help to get you over illnesses a lot faster. And that's why you should wear a scarf, right? To help cover up that aspect of the body. I'm gonna really notice it this year because I cut off all my hair this year. So I'm very concerned about my neck this year. You guys really make sure that you're dressing for the season and wear your scarf, right? Wear your scarf, boost up on your natural occurring vitamin C, get some Asian pears in your life. Asian pears are really, really, really wonderful. And they are part of a traditional Chinese medical formula that is Asian pears, cinnamon, and honey. Like if you have that long, dry hack that you can't kick, then Asian pears really are your best friend, as Novella is over there showing us. All right, I'm checking to make sure that I didn't miss any questions. If you guys have any, come on and jump up, because the whole point of this show is for you guys to have access to acupuncturists and not necessarily have to go for an office visit, right? So just to review, we talked about, again, a lot of the points that exist on the hands. So at the end of your day, make sure that you give your hands some love, particularly around the thumb, right? Lots of cool things that happen around the thumb. At the bottom of the thumb here is the master point, lung 9, right? Don't forget to chop your wrist. That will help out with coughs, right? And that constant that you
Let me cough.
right? Spend a little time loving on the crook of your elbow right here, especially if you have a wet cough on the crook of your elbow on the inside where they go to get the blood at. You can't get it out of me. I don't have that vein there. I found out via a sonogram. There is no vein here. I'm a weirdo. I don't have one.
Oh, it's somewhere else hiding, huh?
I don't have one. Like I found out when I got into a car accident when I was pregnant with my son. They kept trying to put an IV, a PICC line there. And I'm like, I don't have that vein. Like everyone has this. Like, I do not have that vein. And they got a sonogram out and they looked, they're like, holy shit, you don't have that vein. It's like, I told you, I don't have that vein. So rub on the inside, the outside crook of your elbow right here for a deep cough. Spend some time. If you're eating them raw, Jennifer, might make your lungs feel really dry. You're supposed to cook them, and you're supposed to cook them with something that's aromatic like cinnamon or ginger. An alternative food would be Budahan. Budahan is another one that's really good for helping to help out with that dry hack, that little kind of thing that you can't get rid of. Any juiciness that you add to the system right now, things like bone broth, things like slow cooked foods, are all going to be your friends, right? One of the other things we talked about was spending some time in here in the crook. If you start from the clavicle over where the clavicle meets your shoulder, there's like a little dent there, and just come in a little bit. That is lung 1 and lung 2, right? Spend some time rubbing on your chest and getting, yay, breathing space. Welcome, honey. I'm glad you made it. Spend a little time rubbing on your chest. This is one of my favorite things to tell people to do, even if it has nothing to do with fighting off a cold, because there's a lot of tension here. And whenever the body is holding tension, you're holding inflammation, right? So we definitely want to rub on the chest. This is really great for the ladies and anybody who has text neck.
Clears that sadness.
Right? Clears the sadness and clears the grief and sadness, which a lot of us have experienced this year with the COVID pandemic and being cut off from the outside world. There's a lot of grief. So please spend a little time loving on your chest and loving on your lungs, right? You can also pound on this part of your body, and you can pound all the way down the lung channel and the large intestine channel to help activate and invigorate the fascia and the channels that carry the energy there. And then one of the last things that we talked about was cover your neck. Please get a scarf and cover your neck. And as Novella showed us, I can't because I got the fluff magnation here, right? And the back of your head under what I call the mama knot. That big protuberance in the back of your head. There's a lot of places back there that we use in traditional Chinese medicine to help fight off colds, both when you have them and before they get there. So spend a little time rubbing literally the back of your neck under your mama knot. I think we covered all the things that we talked about, right? And spend a little time rubbing your arms in general, especially on the outside where you get that pencil cramp from holding your pen and your pencil, right?
Jennifer Jackson was asking about I love
Asian
pears,
pears.
but they tend to make my lungs feel really dry. Can you recommend an alternative food?
Yep, I told you again.
Yeah, well, I mean, she could try like mulberry and maybe more
Ooh,
nut type of things such as almonds or apricot seed. If you,
apricot seed is a good one. Post nasal drip, neti pot.
yeah, ginger or mint. The mints can help. The gingers though, the
The
aromatic.
ginger, the aromatic ones. So for post nasal drip, I would actually say if you don't have a facial roller, I just got a whole bunch of beautiful ones in, right? I'll give you a preview of what's coming to the Everyone's Place store.
Like damp.
Check that out, right? So for post-nasal drip, what I would actually tell you is to get an aromatic oil, something, I like Kwan Long oil, but you want something that's a little bit minty, a little bit of like eucalyptus, but not, you want it diluted, and you want to spend some time actually rubbing your sinuses, right? Spend some time loving your face and rubbing around your face for post-nasal drip, right? And you want to follow the contours of your face. So you want to come from your nose up and around your face, right down here, press along your sinuses with a little bit of that minty oil, really rubbing on the face, rubbing on the eyebrows, right? Give your forehead a little love with that minty oil. And then if you don't know about neti pots are it for that post-nasal drip that won't quit. I love a good saline rinse. They have little packets that have like a little bit of mint and eucalyptus already kind of mixed into it. Make sure that you follow directions. You have good clean water that you have boiled and allowed to cool. Like that's super, super, super important, right? And then the point that we talked about earlier, large intestine 4 is a good one for your schnoz, right? Great point to rub for post-nasal drip. And then one of the other things that we talked about was make sure that you dust, right? Like we don't necessarily think about it. I know a lot of people who never think about their air filters in their house, but dusting and taking care of your air filter is important at this time of year. If you haven't changed your air filter, especially if you lived in California and you had to survive the fires with the rest of us, it's time to change your air filter. It's time to dust.
Also, okay, so there's also some food recommendations, which is to really avoid the raw, and sugar
Yeah.
is a very big one in terms of producing a lot of mucus secretion. So pulling back on the rich foods, sugars in particular, too much fruit will do it. A drying grain would be barley.
Barley is a good one.
Also, another drying grain would be rye. And um, yeah, there's a
Amaranth is pretty good.
yeah, huh?
Amaranth is another good drying.
Amaranth is a more
Grain.
drying grain. Buckwheat is a little bit drying, very nourishing. Chinese herbal formula classic for this postnasal drip is something called the B Yan Pian. I will text that in the feed.
Yeah.
Yan Pian, and this is something you can find or ask for. You can even, I mean, you could. I wouldn't use it for long term, but just as needed to resolve some of that dampness in the head. But yeah, the rich foods, if you're not shitting, that the mucus secretions build up too. So make sure that, and I say shitting, make sure that your large intestine is descending and going down, and which will help the lungs.
It will help the lungs because if your large intestine will help to accumulate water inside of the body and help to produce mucus if it's not moving the way that it's.
Oh, Job's tears, yes, drink.
Job's tears is awesome. That's another really good grain. People think that they can never have grain, but like they limit grain to like wheat, rice, and corn. But there's an entire world of grain out there, including teff. Right, teff is very high in fiber, very high in iron, and very high in trace minerals. It's the grain that's used for Ethiopian bread injera.
Yeah, Job's tears is also called what kind of barley is it? It's a type of barley, but you can make a Job's tear like a mushroom barley soup using Job's tears. That would be very delicious.
With your bone broth.
And that will pull a lot of excess water out of the body. This is basically excess dampness, excess water. So make sure that you're well covered up, because that, just like condensation on a glass, that's what's happening in your head. Is there, the environment could be, you're just collecting.
Just collecting it, right?
The
Want
food
to collect it.
is very much related to that. So sugar. Sugar and wheat can also be very dampening,
Can be very
especially refined flour, wheat flour.
well, yay for all the questions, y'all. All right, I'm gonna leave the space open for a couple of more in case you guys have a few more questions that you want to be able to ask myself or Novella in terms of how to protect yourself for the autumn and different things that you can do for your lungs. I will throw out one out there, chanting and singing. You know, the act of taking a very deep breath that expands the diaphragm and then letting it out very slowly, which is what happens with singing and humming and chanting, is another great way of being able to tone up the functionality, the strength of the lung. And it's great for dealing with grief because it helps to trigger the vagus nerve, right? So a big breath in and then I got good lungs, right? Being able to do that chanting, that humming, and that deep breath, it helps to calm down the fight, flight, and freeze emotion, and it helps to strengthen the lung. And doing 10 or 15 of these a day will help to also release some of that pent-up grief and emotion. Jennifer, yes, my acupuncturist is always telling me that I have dampness from living in New England. Honey, let me tell you, dampness is why I ran away from Seattle, because I'm already damp and Seattle is just the epitome of damp, and I cannot live in places like Seattle. And it's why I'm thriving in this nice, dry California climate that we have going on. All right, Facebook land. Thank you so much for showing up for Black Acupuncturist meet and greet. Next week, we're going to have Bashira Wilson that's going to be coming on and talking a little bit more about kitchen magic and food medicine for a variety of things. I am so happy to have had my dear friend Novella come on board and tell us all these great points that we can do for our lungs and for our lung health to remind us of good formulas like Yu Ping Feng San. Talk to your acupuncturist or herbalist to make sure that these formulas are right for you. If you want to know more about the Black Acupuncturist we have all over the country, please go to blackacupuncturist.com and check out we have nearly 100 of us now that are listed on blackacupuncturist.com. We are going to be selling very soon. Hold up, y'all. I got to find my boxes. The Melanin Collection ear seeds, which are the color of brown skin. I'm looking for like all the stuff I have on my table, right? So by buying the Melanin Collection ear seeds, which will be up in a day or two at blackacupuncturist.com, you'll be supporting us as a very new nonprofit organization that is here to highlight the work and help grow and expand access to Black acupuncturists all over the country and all over the world. And check out Everyone's Place. Soon you're going to see all these cool things, right? These beautiful crystal rollers that just came in today, so that you can get some of your wellness at home. You'll be able to use those kinds of rollers on your channels as well as your face. So we have lots of cool things coming. Mama Novella, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Jennifer. You are wonderful. And Patricia and Breathing Space. And who else was on here today? Lisa and all the other folks. And Rachel and Emily. Thanks for coming. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for supporting the show. Make sure you tell your friends and post this to your pages, right? So we can get the word out that Black acupuncturists are not unicorns. We're real and we exist. Good night, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You hold on, Novella. Don't leave.
Okay.